of you participated in the 160th St. Patrick's Day celebration. The parade is organized by the United Irish Societies for the benefit of all San Franciscans and visitors. Unfortunately, the rising costs of insurance, increased rental fees for the Civic Center Plaza, and reduced funding for the arts grant support has made the organizing of the event ever more challenging. As Mayor, and I'm sorry, Mr. Ting, but you're next. As Mayor, what will you do in support of the United Irish Societies to ensure the long-term success of St. Patrick's Day Parade?
What makes San Francisco special is that we have so many different communities here celebrating their heritage and their culture. And as a person who's ridden in the parade many times, I think it's important that we absolutely preserve the St. Patrick's Day Parade. And as Mayor, I would do everything possible to make sure that fees are cut, that costs are managed, so that we can have that parade every single year. Because it's important not just to have the St. Patrick's Day Parade, but to have the Pride Parade, to have the Chinese New Year Parade, to have the Columbus Day Parade. Every single parade needs to be respected, because that's what makes San Francisco special. That's why we come from, not just around California, but all around the world, to be in this place, to live in this place, and to thrive in this place.
Well, if you've ever seen me in a parade, you know I know how to rock it out, okay? I don't do it halfway. And I'm going to stick with it. I've had a great time in the St. Patrick's Day Parade. Balloons. I hope my kid hasn't hit you with a candy. She's not the best shot. But what I want to bring up is that 50 years ago, Fisherman's Wharf was the #2 tourism destination in California after Disneyland. And we are an experience-based city until our economy moves more into high-tech and biotech and clean technology. And so one of the things I wanted to do, I don't know if you know Dave Thomas, actually all the floats are in the same barn. Chinese New Year, Gay Pride, St. Patrick's Day, Cesar Chavez. And so what I'd like to do is to have kind of like an electric light parade every month at Fisherman's Wharf and have a Pride float and a St. Patrick's float and have a float from Juneteenth. And let's rock it out and get people to come back to Fisherman's Wharf. And you may think I'm sounding crazy, but it's about filling up the hotel rooms, because that's how we get the hotel tax and reduce the fees. Thank you.
Really?
I hate him.
Now we're having
No, what I do think is funny. St. Patrick's Day Parade was one of my very first memories, and it was walking it with both of my grandfathers. Because one of them, my grandpa Mike Driscoll, was a member of the Board of Supervisors when my grandfather Joe Alioto was the mayor. And so it was an interesting experience, and I certainly remember the big badges that they gave us to wear as little girls that were orange and green, and there was nothing in the world that was better. And the truth of the matter is that I have had this conversation with the guys who run the Columbus Day Parade, and yes, I'm going to call it the Columbus Day Parade. And we've had the conversation with the people who run the Gay Pride Parade. And what is so interesting is that all three of them are such San Francisco institutions, and all three of them are in such trouble every year over and over again. And the trouble that all three of them seem to go through is based in the city, and the fees that the city imposes, and the difficulty that the city puts at getting their permits once more. These parades are a part of San Francisco, and the city clearly needs to work together to make sure that they run efficiently and effectively, and frankly, all three of them should come together so we can figure out what the problems are and work it through so that the parades continue to be a big part of San Francisco's cultural heritage.
I don't think there's any more spiritual experience than leaving Mass at St. Patrick's and then walking in the parade. And it is a great experience and one that should be celebrated. But what it is that Michela was talking about, I agree with her when she talked about the fees. You gotta live. The St. Patrick's Day Parade, the Pride Parade, and other parades are no different from any other small business. They are small businesses that we need to encourage and celebrate and help make life easier for them so that they can thrive. And we can add predictability and certainty for them so they can manage their investment, and they know that they're going to have a partner in the city who's going to create an environment for them to reach their best success. Now, when I was on the police commission back in the 90s, we used to deal with these neighborhood street parties, right? And everybody was always coming to try and nickel and dime them for fees, and we turned them down repeatedly. Because I don't think we should be balancing our budgets on the backs of small business. And parades and the celebrations need to be viewed as business enterprises that celebrate the cultural history and diversity of San Francisco. And you have my commitment. I'll work with you to make sure that St. Patrick's Day Parade is as successful as it can be.
As someone who went to high school in South Boston, I certainly understand the religion around the St. Patrick's Day Parade. And I absolutely agree with all of my colleagues here that I will do whatever I need to do to make sure that the St. Patrick's Day Parade not only goes off without a hitch, but has fees that are appropriate and are cut back. I want to mention though one other thing, another aspect of Irish culture that I was very happy to help support. When a number of months ago, some folks here in this room came to me and said, our Gaelic football fields on Treasure Island are being challenged because the developer in that project is not making commitments that we need to make sure that our young men can play Gaelic football on Treasure Island. I was more than happy to help Leo Cassidy and Sean Keegren and others to make sure that for many years to come, we can ensure that folks get to play ball and protect that wonderful aspect of this community.
I think it's so important as a city that we embrace what our innovation, but hold on tight to our cultural heritage. And one thing that whether it's the St. Patrick's Parade or the Pride Parade, they bring people into San Francisco who come here for those celebrations and spend a lot of money. So we have to do whatever we can to preserve them and make sure that not only do we take them from where they are, but think about how we can make them even bigger and more exciting. And then they are, as I agree, they are small businesses, so we have to make sure we can streamline and not put undue tax burden on them in terms of permits and costs. And I also think, I know at least with Pride, there was so much talk about the debt burden that they had, and I think there's a real opportunity to match some leaders in the business community with the people who run these parades and different celebrations so that they have some real guidance on discipline and making sure that they don't overdo their debt load.
Like Supervisor David Chiu, President Chiu, I had a Catholic school upbringing, and I came from a Mexican-American family, but had Irish nuns at St. Peter and Paul School in Bloomington, California, and I have a bit of that Irish experience in me myself. Also with an English major in college, but my real specialty was Irish literature. My favorite authors were Oscar Wilde and James Joyce. I can recite to you some of his passages, George Bernard Shaw, John Millington Synge. And for me, the affinity I have for the Irish culture is really important and really strong. I love the parade, the Irish American Parade that happens every year. I haven't done it every year that I've been on the Board of Supervisors, but something that is very meaningful to me and the cultural history of San Francisco, and I will do everything I can to make sure that we can have it go off without a hitch. That we can have the fees lowered, and we can find investment money from small business and large businesses to help make that happen. Thank you.
You know, it's amazing when you get around the Irish, everybody wants to be Irish. Right? It was 45 years ago plus that I actually helped raise funds to erect this facility that we're sitting in. Isn't it ironic here? I'm asking you to help elect me mayor. Okay? It's funny, isn't it, how what goes around comes around. I dedicate the service of my orchestra for 9 weeks upon the opening of this place, up on that stage and downstairs, to make sure it got off on the right footing. I then went so far as to marry a girl from Ireland. So I'm pretty committed to the Irish culture. My 7 children all worked their way through school by working right where you're sitting, waiting on tables. 2 of my sons were bartenders. My son-in-law's been a bartender here for 12 years. So I'm pretty committed to the Irish culture. I also was responsible for the Gaelic football fields and the rugby fields on Treasure Island when I was director there. So I'm very proud of my Irish heritage. And also, I see Joe Alioto laughing, my mother was Italian. I'm first generation, I'm an immigrant like a few other people up here. So I know what it is to work hard. I also know the Irish ethic of working hard, being honest, being true, and not being in anyone's pocket, being totally independent. And that's what I promise you as a mayor, Rees. Total independence, total public service devoted to your welfare. That's the Irish ethic. As far as supporting the St. Patrick's Day Parade, you can guess that me and my 7 kids will be riding it as mayor, and my wife, and all my cousins out there.
I'll make it easy for all of you. I agree with everything that I want to use the time to thank this young lady in front of me. She has a thankless job. She is so diligent trying to keep us on time. None of us worry about it. None of us care except Joanna, Rees, and you're to be congratulated. Thank you very much.
This concludes, we managed